that?
Detective Raven, I'm Judge Maddox. A judicial system powered by artificial intelligence.
Lawmakers voted for mercy. Mercy keeps our city safe.
I shouldn't be here. I helped create the Mercy program.
You're before this court today charged with the murder of your wife. Your guilt must fall below the 92% threshold, or you will be executed in precisely 90 minutes.
I loved my wife. I didn't hurt her.
If you are innocent, prove it.
Show me everyone she had contact with.
Mr. Raven, the clock is ticking.
This was about me and you.
The story begins with Chris Raven sitting alone in a dark room, restrained in a chair and unable to move freely. He is confined to a wheelchair, looking confused and helpless. The scene then shifts to explain the state of the city. For the past 2 years, the city has been torn apart by violent riots. Although the police and government eventually restored order, many officers and officials abused their authority during the chaos. To prevent corruption and human bias, the government introduced a radical new system of justice run entirely by artificial intelligence. This system, called Mercy, now controls law enforcement, court trials, and sentencing. Mercy analyzes police evidence along with massive amounts of data collected from citizens' connected devices, such as phones, cameras, and online activity. The AI was designed to be neutral and precise. So far, it has judged 18 criminals and reduced the crime rate by 18%. Chris suddenly regains full awareness and realizes he is about to be put on trial by Mercy's AI judge, Maddox. He has no memory of how he got there. Panicking, Chris claims that he is a police officer, but Maddox continues her verification process and informs him that he is accused of murdering his wife, Nicole Raven. She shows him video footage of police arriving at Nicole's house, where a badly injured Nicole names Chris as her attacker before dying.
It's in here.
No, there's no one else here. It's just me.
Yeah, we're coming.
There's no one here. It's just my mom.
Chris is completely shocked and insists this cannot be true. Maddox allows Chris to defend himself and gives him access to the data system to search for evidence. His case quickly becomes national news because of the irony. A man who once helped send criminals into the Mercy system is now being judged by it. Maddox directly asks Chris if he is guilty. He strongly denies it, but Maddox reveals that Mercy has calculated his guilt probability at 97.15%.
I have already judged your probability of guilt to be 97.5%. This is 17.5% above the 80% threshold to trigger a Mercy trial.
Since the Mercy code activates at anything above 80%, his execution is now a real possibility. Maddox explains how the New York Municipal Cloud constantly monitors all citizens through technology. Chris is told that if his guilt probability drops below 92%, the investigation will continue, but if it rises above 97%, he will be executed by electric shock. The countdown begins. Maddox presents more evidence. Footage shows Chris going to Nicole's house that morning instead of his workplace. An argument occurs when Nicole refuses to let him inside. Chris breaks the door camera and enters the house, leaving 26 minutes later. Soon after, their daughter Britt arrives and begins screaming. Maddox also explains that Nicole was stabbed by a right-handed attacker, and Chris is right-handed. Additional footage shows Chris later at a bar, where alcohol was detected in his system.
You're lying.
I do not lie, nor do the facts.
Yo, officer, that's the guy.
Police arrive to arrest him, and he violently resists, attacks officers, tries to escape, and even attempts to steal a car before being tackled. Chris watches in disbelief, saying he remembers none of it. Chris asks to speak with his daughter. At first, Maddox refuses because Mercy does not allow contact with minors, but permission is later granted. Chris struggles to find the right words, so Maddox sends an AI-generated message for him. When Britt finally speaks, she says she did everything she could to save her mother before her grandfather ends the call. Chris is then required to speak with his rehabilitation counselor, Robert, who tells him that his fate now lies entirely in Mercy's hands. Maddox reviews Chris's past, explaining that after a failed operation in which his close friend Ray died, Chris changed. He became distant, angry, and unstable. Nicole sent dozens of messages to friends and family describing her fear and desire for a divorce. Maddox also shows a secret video of Britt saying her mother should leave Chris because he was becoming dangerous. Overwhelmed and frustrated, Chris accuses Mercy of already deciding his guilt. He argues that the trial is just a formality and that the system never truly allows a person to prove their innocence. Maddox warns Chris not to waste time. Only 1 hour remains.
Comprehend that you're being distracted by emotions, and you have 1 hour and 8 minutes to reduce your guilt probability by 5.5%. If you are innocent, prove it to me.
Regaining his composure, Chris asks to contact his friend Jack Dew, who knows both him and Nicole and is currently at the crime scene. Maddox grants access and provides a complete digital reconstruction of the scene. Chris studies the detailed scans as Jack walks through the kitchen. His daughter's footprints, blood spatter on the walls, Chris's fingerprints on the knife, and fibers from his clothes all point directly to him. Even Jack admits the evidence looks damning. Chris shifts his focus to Nicole's phone records and photos. While reviewing footage from their argument, he notices Nicole typing a message that was never sent. There is no second phone visible, triggering a sudden realization. Nicole owned an unregistered burner phone. Maddox uses Chris's device to call the number. The phone is traced to Nicole's car. When they call again, the person hangs up immediately after hearing Mercy mentioned, but Maddox traces the signal to the Hollywood Red Zone. Jack rushes to the location, where the signal leads to the Hudson Hotel. The suspect, Patrick Burke, a chef, panics and flees when police arrive. Drones pursue him to the rooftop, where Jack apprehends him. Patrick explains he ran out of fear after learning of Nicole's death. He admits he met Nicole at a farmer's market and that they began meeting weekly for coffee, but Maddox confirms that at the time of Nicole's murder, Patrick was documented at the hotel. He is cleared as a suspect. With only 53 minutes left, Chris's guilt probability spikes to 98.7%. Maddox accuses him of still hiding the truth. Chris finally confesses that Nicole had discovered his hidden alcohol bottle.
You'd think I killed Nick because I found out she was seeing someone. What, you think this is all an act?
I think there's more that you're not revealing.
He admits he relapsed a year ago, and Nicole began secretly recording him. A flashback reveals Chris's unresolved trauma over the death of his partner, Ray, during a past operation. Ray was killed while Chris chased down the shooter, who was later acquitted, leaving Chris broken by guilt. Chris reconstructs the morning. Nicole confronted him about the alcohol. They argued. He stormed into the house, smashed her favorite pot, cut himself, and got blood on both of them. After that, he remembers nothing. Devastated, Chris begins to believe he may have killed Nicole in a blackout rage. Maddox warns that a confession would guarantee the death penalty, but urges him to keep searching for the truth while time remains. Desperate, Chris reviews all of Nicole's contacts. Nothing stands out, until he recalls Patrick mentioning Nicole's work. Patrick later reveals Nicole had been investigating chemical theft at a shipping company and was uncomfortable with the assignment. Acting on instinct, Chris instructs Jack to head to Viking Shipment Depot. Chris reviews footage from a recent barbecue at his house, checking if anyone entered around the time of Nicole's death. No one appears to have approached the house. However, rewatching Britt's video call, Chris notices the timestamp. Britt assumed her father was home, but Chris was actually at his office, meaning someone else was in the house. When questioned, Britt recalls hearing a noise and noticing the basement door open, though she never checked it.
Calls like back in skies.
Pause it. Britt, honey, were you in the basement last night?
No.
You sure? And you didn't check it?
Dad, you know I don't go down there.
Digging deeper into Viking Shipment's records, Chris finds emails about missing chemicals. Only 3 people had access, and shipments were altered to include extra chemicals. CCTV footage shows a heated argument between Nicole and Charles Holt. Financial records reveal secret payments from Robert, Chris's rehabilitation counselor, to Holt. Chris's guilt probability drops to 94%. When Chris calls Robert, Holt answers instead and hangs up. Further investigation shows a gap in a neighbor's surveillance footage during the time of the murder. Holt later admits he and Nicole uncovered Robert as the thief. Tracking a shipment truck leads police to Robert's location, where footage shows him climbing out of a car trunk. Chris orders Jack to arrest Robert. As Chris pleads with logic and emotion, The Mercy system begins to malfunction, its certainty shaken for the first time. The SWAT team quickly raids Robert's house, but they find no one inside. The only clue left behind is an old photograph from an orphanage showing a young Robert standing beside another boy. This immediately raises suspicion, and the team begins searching for the identity of the second child. Outside, Robert's truck is missing. From this, Chris realizes Robert is already on the move and orders Jack to locate the vehicle as fast as possible. As the SWAT team continues searching the property, they discover that all the stolen chemicals are gone. Chris correctly deduces that Robert is transporting them to a buyer. Further investigation reveals URA compounds and detailed documents explaining how Robert converts URA into nitrate to manufacture high-grade explosives. It becomes clear that Robert has built a mobile bomb inside the truck.
Dan, he's got a bomb in that truck. We need to know what his target is.
All right, guys, drop it, toss everything, look for a target. Shit just got real, Jack.
Chris, I have it.
Dan, I'm going after our sub.
Roger that.
How much explosives is he carrying?
The second boy in the photograph is identified as David Webb, Robert's biological brother who was separated from him when Robert was adopted. Surveillance cameras soon track Robert's truck traveling along the 101 freeway, heading straight toward the Mercy Code headquarters. Chris realizes the horrifying truth. Robert plans to destroy the Mercy system itself. Nicole's death was never the main goal. She was collateral damage in a much larger act of revenge aimed at both Chris and Mercy. Even worse, another person is seen riding in the truck with Robert. Chris urgently calls Britt, but her grandfather Bill answers instead, saying she just stepped outside. Alarmed, Chris reviews the home's door camera footage and sees Robert abducting Britt. Almost immediately afterward, a hidden bomb timer is discovered back at Robert's house. Moments later, the building explodes, killing several officers. Investigators confirm that only a small portion of the URA nitrate was used in that blast. The rest is still inside the truck, enough to level the entire city. With this revelation, Chris is officially cleared of Nicole's murder, and his release is authorized.
I will stop the trial immediately and the chair will release you.
No.
I have
You
to.
stop the trial, we cut off, right? We lose cloud access?
Yes, correct.
No.
But Chris refuses to leave. He demands full system access, arguing that without it, Robert will succeed and countless people will die. Maddox accepts his logic and overrides her own restrictions, granting Chris total access to Mercy. Police units attempt to stop Robert downtown, but he smashes through traffic and even plows through a shopping mall, spreading chaos everywhere. Maddox contacts Captain Havelock, who orders Jack to redirect Robert towards 6th Street, an area with minimal civilian presence. The plan is to stop the truck on the bridge and rescue Britt safely. The operation begins, and the truck is boxed in on the bridge. An aerial rescue attempt is made to extract Britt, but it fails. Chris desperately argues with Jack, insisting they cannot destroy the truck while Britt is inside. However, the order to eliminate the vehicle has already been issued. Chris contacts Havelock directly, but the captain refuses to change course. A robotic explosive device is deployed toward the truck, only for it to malfunction. It is revealed that Maddox intentionally caused the failure, allowing the truck to continue. Maddox, Chris, and Jack establish radio contact with Robert. Robert finally reveals his motive. His brother David was executed through the Mercy system, and Chris was the officer who put him there. Robert vows revenge on Chris and on Mercy itself. Jack sees an opportunity and attempts to kill Robert remotely, but Maddox interferes with Jack's systems, preventing the strike. Robert manages to reach the Mercy building. As Maddox's systems begin to fail under mounting pressure, Chris is left with only 25 seconds on the execution countdown. Inside the building, Robert continues fighting officers while holding Britt hostage. At 5 seconds remaining, Maddox releases Chris from his restraints. Chris sprints forward, but first asks Maddox to initiate one final hearing so he can confront Robert face to face. Chris tells Robert that destroying Mercy will also destroy him. Just as Robert's finger hovers over the detonation switch, Maddox's voice echoes through the room, offering to reopen David Webb's case and prove his innocence. Robert hesitates and begins recounting the night his brother was accused of murder. As he speaks, Maddox secretly feeds Chris instructions on how to disable the detonator. Chris subtly signals Britt. While Maddox keeps Robert distracted, Britt breaks free. Chris lunges forward, disabling the remote detonator and holding Robert at gunpoint without firing. Suddenly, Jack shoots Robert. Even while wounded, Robert insists his brother was on a phone call at the time of the arrest and that the phone existed as evidence. Maddox immediately accesses Jack's body cam footage and uncovers the truth. Jack never logged that phone into evidence and secretly disposed of it. Confronted, Jack finally confesses, admits that Mercy needed visible convictions to maintain public fear and control. With the truth exposed, both Robert and Jack are arrested. In the aftermath, Britt apologizes to Chris for doubting him. Chris then speaks with Maddox, explaining that whether human or artificial intelligence, mistakes are inevitable, but they must be acknowledged and learned from. Accepting this, Maddox formally closes the case and issues a full dismissal, bringing the trial to an end.